Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Thomas Parham. I'm Executive Director of Screenwriting at Azusa Pacific University in Los Angeles, and I am your moderator for Once Upon a Time, Conversations from Fairyland. Woo! Before we get started, please consider a donation to this year's official DragonCon charity, the American Heart Association. Also, please rate the panel afterward in the app. And let's meet our first guest. You've seen her on screen in the movie Scorpion King 2, as well as the hit musical comedy Gallivant, HBO's Barry, the CW's Legacies, and AMC's Fear the Walking Dead. But you know her best as Princess Jasmine of Agrabah, Karen David. So I've got a question or two for Karen, but I want you to start lining up at the mics, and we have Jennifer on this side and Smap on the other side.
Hi.
So Karen, you went to the Guildford School of Acting. I wanted to make sure I didn't mispronounce it. The Guildford School of Acting in London when you were just 17. What was that experience like?
Well, I always thought that I would leave home when I got married. Slight change of plans when I was accepted to drama college, and I'll never forget the day when that envelope came, when the mail came in, and I was helping Mom outside, raking the leaves and gardening, and I just got back, and I just met my mom outside, and I hadn't gone in the house yet, and my dad came out and he said, "Oh, there's a letter for you from England," because my parents are in Toronto. And so I said, okay. And I said, "Is it thick?" What do you mean? I said, "Is the letter thick?" He said, "Well, you should go see for yourself." I'm like, "Dad, just tell me, is it thin or is it thick? If it's thin, it's a rejection letter. If it's thick, then I got in." He said, "Just go in and see." So I ran inside the house, and it was this big, massive package. I didn't even open it, and I came outside, and I was like, "I'm going to England. I'm going back home." And my mom said that it was that one moment with every parent where it's the day that they celebrate, but also it's sort of a bittersweet moment because she knew that life would change. Oh, just thinking about it actually gets me a little bit teary.
I'm late.
Fashionably late, as always, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Jerry Gilmore.
Howdy.
I was just telling about
Well, hello there.
the day I left home, and how I was with Mom and Dad, and how my mom wanted to cry out of happiness and joy, and I'm sure relief as well. So, but I loved being a student in England. When you're away from home for the first time, you learn so much about yourself, and you begin to appreciate all the things that your parents did do for you at home, and how easy it was when you didn't have to worry about rent or cooking or any of those things. And I grew up very quickly, but it was such an amazing experience for me in my young adulthood to have that chapter back home in England. So it was a wonderful experience. I actually miss it. I was in London 3 weeks ago, and I went back to my old stomping grounds, and I posted pictures on my Instagram, if any of you saw, and I met up with my old headmaster, and I just wanted to just thank him so much for everything that he did for me at the start of my journey, because a lot of this is the unknown. You don't know where you're going to be, if you're going to get a big job or do something. You just kind of have to hope and pray, and it's amazing that I had such wonderful, good teachers and mentors that were so inspiring, and it was such a moment for me. And I said, "Peter, because he wanted to take me out for lunch. I said, I couldn't afford it then. I'm going to take you out to lunch today." And it was a wonderful moment to just catch up.
Awesome. Jared,
Yes.
you literally grew up before our very eyes.
Yeah,
I mean, 2 seasons on Mad Men and a total of 7 seasons on Once.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in a regular season 7, but you came back for the guest spots. What was that experience like?
I mean, it was incredible for me because my time on set literally shaped who I am as a person. I learned so much from the cast and the crew and my friends and in that sense my extended family.
Your two moms?
Yeah, it's just such an amazing experience because I was able to learn from so many talented people and not just about acting and whatnot, but I also learned about life. And while I was working mostly around adults, so I kind of skipped to the phase of my life where I was interacting with people my age, but it was wonderful and incredible, and it was an amazing experience. And it's funny now because I could technically go back and just watch myself grow up.
Oh, and can I just say, like, I'm going to make you blush. Well, hopefully I can. But Jared is, I think, to see someone the future is bright with someone like Jared because he's so grounded and so humble and yet so lovely. I mean, all of us feel instinctively very protective of Jared, but he is such a gem. You're a gem, and I do love him very much, as you can tell.
Do we have questions in the back? Either side? No? Okay, I'll keep going then. Oh. Another question for Jared. What did you think when your agent said, okay, we got this great role for you. You're going to play Snow White and Prince Charming's grandson?
Well, it was one of those things where when I got the audition, I read the script and I was instantly like attached to it. I was like, this is amazing. I want this role. So I remember just going into the audition room and giving it my all, like going 110%. And then it was funny because I remember going into testing, and in the testing room, I was with Lana. Lana was also waiting for her audition, and she looked at me and she said, "You're going to be my son." And lo and behold, we got the call that I got the audition, that I got the part for the pilot, and we were in the hotel in Vancouver for filming the pilot, and I'm getting in the elevator and I see Lana, and we're just like, and it was so amazing. And I always have loved stories and telling stories and fairy tales and whatnot. And I grew up around. I have a twin sister, so I grew up watching the Disney princess films and all the animated Disney movies. So I already had a connection with them, and it was so cool seeing Once Upon a Time's take on them as the season progressed.
Similar question for you, Karen. What was it like when they said, we want you to play Princess Jasmine? Because you're the first human being to play Jasmine because she was a cartoon character.
The funny thing is, when I went up for the role of Jasmine, I didn't know it was for the role of Jasmine because everything is pseudonames, and so when I read the breakdown, it was for the role of Scheherazade, which in itself is a wonderful, like the Sinbad stories are so wonderful. And so everything was, and a part of me was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm really happy that they're doing Sinbad and Scheherazade. I was like, why? Why are they not doing Aladdin? So I said, it's okay, put that out of your head. So I kind of read the brief, and they described Scheherazade as this strong young woman that works works in the courts, the Sultan's courts, and is not afraid to go into battle with men 10 times her size. And I said, well, that's pretty much me, because everyone's taller than me.
That's not true.
You are. When I take my heels off, you are. Yeah, you win. And so I thought, well, maybe just for good luck, I'll wear what I wore for my Gallivant audition. Even though Jasmine and Isabella are similar in some ways, but very different in a lot of ways. So I wore my jodhpurs, my horse riding boots that still had mud on them, because I thought, well, if she's not afraid to go on a battle and scrap it out, and she's tiny, then chances are she doesn't give a toss. So I wore my horse riding boots, I put this paisley blouse on, and then I tied my hair to the side, and I went in, and when I arrived in the waiting room, I saw all these beautiful young girls dressed in these gorgeous gowns and dresses, wearing I think one girl was wearing a tiara, another one was wearing like a lovely necklace, and they were all looking at me like, what are you wearing? Especially at my, muddy horse riding boots. And I was horrified, and I called my agent saying, can I go home and change, please? And Stephen was like, no, Karen, there's no time. He said, why? I said, everyone's dressed like a princess, and I clearly got the memo wrong. And he said, Karen, there's no time, you've got to go in. And you just gotta go in. So I felt like egg on my face, and went into the meeting, and Veronica, our costume director, she said, do you have any questions? And I said, well, how princess-like is this character? Because it's not like she's a princess or anything, right? And there was a long pregnant pause. And Veronica just looked at me, she said, well, I shouldn't be telling you this, but it's for the role of Jasmine. Sorry? I am so glad I only found out in that moment. Because had I known that I was going up for a character who, as a child growing up, all of us, we have all these Disney characters that we grow up with and revere and look up to, I would have been extremely nervous. And I'm so glad that I only had 2 seconds to literally process that in my mind. And she said, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And so I did the scene, and I came out, and I was just, then it hit me, and I was like, wow. I was that girl growing up where I was bullied in school for being a little different, and as a kid you just want to fit in, and I had a horrendous acne problem, and I'm not talking one to like proper full-on infestation of acne. And so kids can be mean, and so if anyone had told me at that age that I was going to one day play Jasmine and play the first live action of Jasmine, I just never would have believed it. And I actually got quite emotional when I got the call, because it was that little girl coming out of me and just thinking, wow, anything is possible, if you persevere and you believe. And I got to meet this amazing family of people. It's very rare when you go on different sets that you have unanimous, everyone is just
everyone at once. It was amazing with once, because everyone on set, everyone off set, everyone who joined the cast and crew, everyone was always so lovely, and they were instantly a part of the family. There's no transitional phase. It was instantly just like hugs. How are you? This is wonderful. It's amazing to finally be able to meet you, and it's just such a wonderful experience.
I think that's the legacy that this show carries too. It transcends, like even with the fandom, and the cast and the crew, is that we're all family, and that's never going to change beyond season 7.
Yeah, and of course the best part is we have chances like these at these conventions to reunite with members of our family and have fun and be dorks in panels
and catch up.
And catch up. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Hi, I had a question. As a mom of children who love being on stage and acting, my kids range from like 7 to 16, and they just all love being on the stage. Do you guys have any advice for them or for us as parents who are trying to get our kids in this world?
It's so hard because this world is one that is so complicated and interesting, and something that a lot of people don't really understand going into it is the commitment especially with younger actors. My parents, we ended up losing our first house because we'd have to drive up to LA and the cost of gas and whatnot, and it takes a lot of time and commitment. My parents always suggest going to this website called bizparents.org or something like that, that gives you a very detailed rundown of what it's like to have children in the business. And then as for advice to other actors and whatnot, aspiring actors, is just never give up, always keep going, be yourself, be natural, don't be afraid to be yourself. You'll find your role. One day your dreams will kind of just walk up and slap you in the face, in a sense. And everything will happen in time. Everything happens for a reason, even if you don't see it at first. I've always said that, and I know them. I always said it without truly knowing the meaning of that, but now, within the last year, I've found my reasons, and I really know that everything does happen for a reason. So just tell them to persevere and keep going and believe and have hope.
I'm just going to jump in and say, first of all, bless your heart for being a wonderful parent.
Yes, of course.
For supporting your children's dreams. You know, Jared's parents, who I've gotten to know and just love and adore as my own, they are very much like my parents. They're very grounded, very normal parents, and not show stage parents. And I think the one valuable thing my parents taught me right from a young age was to know and learn the value of constructive criticism, and to know the difference between constructive criticism and criticism. And I think it's so important because we have to learn, you know, part of, no matter what it is that you want to do in life, it's always about learning and growing and being hungry to want to know more and to learn more. And it's that quest for just always wanting to be the best version of yourselves, no matter what it is that you do in life, whether it's acting or teaching or you know, anything that you apply yourself to. And
this,
just,
whenever you're done, this is when you're, I don't want to cut you off, but when you finish, I have a funny piece of advice too, so.
It's just remembering it's to know when to listen to good advice. Our teachers and mentors, we have some wonderful teachers and mentors, and knowing when to listen to good advice. Surround yourself with good people, never be afraid to ask questions, and you're going to make mistakes along the way, but one thing is, especially with acting, I find being an actor is empathizing, and you go to a good school where they have a good reputation that can open doors for you to learn your craft. But then it's also life experience, and I think every young student, no matter what it is that you're wanting to study for, life experience is so important. You should get out of that big world out there. You should volunteer. You should help. You should observe. Get to know people. There's so much kindness in this world, and I think we need to celebrate that more. And I think life experience builds. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a tough world out there, and I think there's so many good people out there too. So we need to encourage that. And you know, as actors too, the empathizing and having these open hearts. Part of it is very much about. A huge part of it is life experience too. But they'll get thick skin. Because you'll fall down, like Denzel Washington said in his great graduation speech. He said, you fall down 10 times, you get up 11. And my dad always told me since I was a little girl, I always say, I love you, Daddy, I love you, Daddy. To this day, I say every day to him. And he says, love yourself. And that's so important, that you love yourself, because you're going to be your own best friend. And you look at yourself in the mirror every day, and you got to cheer yourself on. And each and every one of you, you deserve amazing things in your life, and big or small, and no dream, no matter how little or small, or big, is too crazy. You go for it. And the only person stopping you at the end of the day is you. So it's up to you what you want to do. You have a dream, you work hard, you persevere, you have a good attitude on your shoulders, you treat others the way that you want to be treated, and doors will open. They will. You just have to have faith in yourself, and faith and trust in a greater being, whatever it is, that everything's going to happen for the right reason, and will happen when the time is right.
And a random piece of advice. I do a panel at some other conventions with a few other of the cast members, and one of our jokes or not jokes, but it is serious. The actual definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. As an actor, in my opinion, you gotta be a little bit insane, because you're gonna go on hundreds of auditions expecting different results, and eventually, you know, you'll find the perfect role, and you'll find that part, and you'll book it, and it'll feel amazing and wonderful, and like I said, everything happens for a reason, so.
I have a follow-up question for both of you. How old were you when you discovered the acting bug? And what was it that appealed to you?
Well, I mean, I got into the film industry when I was 5.
Just 5.
Yeah, I kind of fell into it. That's the best way I can describe it. I have a twin sister, as I said, and she was always the more outgoing of the two of us. We'd be at Disneyland and be waiting for parades, and she'd put on shows. She'd be dancing and singing, and she'd drag me out into the audience to do it too. And eventually, some talent people approached my parents about getting my sister into acting. And naturally, since we were twins, my parents put us both into it, and Taylor eventually quit and started riding horses, and now I'm here. So that's the best way to explain it. And I found I had a passion for entertaining people, for making people happy, for having an impact on people, and being a part of such an amazing community. So.
My older sister is kind of like my second mum. We've got a bit of an age gap, so she's more strict than my own mum, which is really funny. And she always got dumped with babysitting duties. And so when she was looking after me, she said, look, whatever music I listen to, you're going to listen to. Whatever movies I watch, you're going to watch too. So instead of being the typical 4 or 5-year-old in kindergarten, singing Mary Had a Little Lamb and Old MacDonald and all those songs, I was singing Hungry Like the Wolf. Duran Duran and Aerosmith and Spandau Ballet, and my teachers were very horrified, saying, do you know the lyrics that your daughter's singing? And it was all because of my teenage sister at the time. And one thing she did do, and again, I will never forget this moment, was sitting in front of the TV, and she loved Olivia Newton-John. And she showed me Grease, and I was mesmerized. Then after Grease, she showed me Xanadu, and as soon as I heard ONJ sing Magic, I was like, I was like, first of all, stunning, exotic, because that was exotic to me, and I wanted to be blonde and blue-eyed, and found out very later on in life that that was never going to work. Instead, I married a blonde, blue-eyed, I fell in love with Olivia Newton-John because she was just so magical in both those movies, and just, you know, her singing voice and her acting. And I just told my parents, who had just immigrated from India to England and then to Canada, I want to go to Hollywood. I just was so blunt, apparently, and I was like 6 years old. So I started doing children's commercials. My dad, every Sunday, my dad's a Mensa brain. So you can just imagine, when I told him that I wanted to be an actress, I was telling you this, he was kind of heartbroken because he wanted me to go in maths and sciences. And so every Sunday at brunch, he would read the local papers because he wanted his 2 girls to know what was happening in the great big world. And my sister got distracted, and she saw this audition post looking for cute kids for a Jell-O commercial. And my sister said, well, Karen would be great for that. So she said, you should call them, because my parents always told me that whatever you want to do in life, you have to take your own initiative. So I literally took their word for it, and I snuck into my parents' room and picked up the phone. I was only 6. And I just remember saying, hi, my name's Karen David, I'm 6 years old, and I want to be in this commercial. And I happened to get the casting director on the phone, who was completely tickled that a 6-year-old was so boisterous to say that. She said, well, can I have your number? I said, no, I'm not allowed to give my number. I can't talk strangers. So I hung up the phone. Bye! I hung it up. My parents got a call back because she traced the call through the operator. And my parents were like, what? She said, your daughter just called me saying, and I really want to meet her. A, I got in trouble for talking to strangers. But B, they were very impressed that I literally meant business, and they took me to the meeting, and I got the role. So I started doing commercials as a child, but my parents were working parents, and having immigrated, they could not afford to take time off work. So after doing a year of commercials, they said, look, we can't afford this. You need to be a kid, so we'll strike a deal with you. You get straight A's in school, and boy did they mean that. And we'll pay for your singing lessons, your acting lessons, and your dance lessons. And see, again, I'm such an emotional sot, guys, in my old age. My parents sacrificed so much because they couldn't afford any of that. And they would spend their weekends driving me everywhere, because they just want the children to be happy. And they saved a lot. Instead of, I'd see other families that were so blessed and could go on vacations every year. My parents couldn't afford that, but they saved up for my lessons because they saw that I wanted to do it, and it made me happy. So I'm really grateful to them, because I would not be here talking to all you lovely people if it wasn't for my amazing parents. So. Okay, no more, yeah.
Hi, yeah, thank you guys both so much for being here. This is really cool and a great opportunity for us. I actually had a question for Jared, if that's okay, about your role as Henry. So I felt like the first 6 seasons of Once Upon a Time, Henry was kind of the truest believer, right? And the story was really about how he was the foil for kind of everybody else and getting everyone together. And then season 7, I think maybe between 6 and 7, Henry has this realization that he's not really getting his story, and he wants to go off and really find himself. And so I felt like season 7 was then Henry getting his own story, right? Yeah. And I'm just wondering, what's your take on that? Did you feel like in the end he got that arc, he got that story, he got the happy ending that he wanted? How did you, I guess, Jared, feel? Were you satisfied with Henry's story?
Oh yeah, I was most certainly satisfied with Henry's story in the end, and huge props to Andrew, who did a fantastic job portraying the character that I birthed. No,
You did.
but he did such a wonderful job, and he really gave new life to the character, and it was so amazing and wonderful to be able to see Henry's story evolve and progress, and see that he was able to get the happy ending that he wanted. And I was 100% satisfied with Henry's story in the end.
Speaking of stories, what was your favorite arc out of season 1? You just said the one arc, but I think seasons 2 through 6,
yeah.
Each season was divided into 2, so you did tons of them.
We did
but
tons
does
of
one of
arcs.
them really stand out?
Yeah,
Actually, no. One of my favorite arcs, I think my favorite arc was in season 6. Was the Land of Untold Stories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yay.
And so, funnily enough, I loved the idea of that, and I got to do so much fun stuff in season 6. Henry's character really matured over the course of that season, which was so amazing and wonderful. And there's so many new characters, new amazing, wonderful characters and actors. They joined us that year.
I promise I did not tell him to say that. But
Yeah.
thank you.
And a musical episode, too.
Yeah, and a musical episode. So you know what?
Yay!
It was just such a wonderful season, and such a wonderful arc. There's so many amazing, interesting stories, and stories that I myself was interested in. Like getting to be on the Nautilus was incredible, in Dark Waters. That's the kind of stuff that I absolutely love. And it was just stuff like that, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That was such a cool story, and that sort of gothic theme I absolutely loved, and the steampunk feel of that was amazing. We had a dirigible. There we go. That's how you say it. And there was just so much amazing stuff happening that season. So.
I think that's what's so wonderful about the show is that, all these stories, they just allow you to just be a big kid and you get to play constantly. It's like, where are we going off today? Oh, you're on a magic carpet, and it's so magical.
Yeah.
We had so much fun.
Yeah, I remember we had the one scene together. It was
I
just you
know.
and me, and it was so much fun to be able to film that, because in most cases I always have scenes with. In most cases it's usually me and Emma or me and Regina, and it's always so. And I love working with Juana and Jennifer, but it's also amazing to have a chance to work with people like Karen and have like these sort of these scenes where you get to see two characters that are completely different, because they're from completely different worlds. I mean, Henry's only ever known, like, while he knows fairy tales, he's from the real world, he's from our world, and him interacting with these characters who were born and raised in a fantasy realm is so cool and amazing. And
but essentially bonding and talking about relationships and
video games, and just amazingly wonderful stuff. It's so cool. It's so wonderful.
Hi. So I love the show. Let's start off there. And Regina's my favorite. I'm so sorry. Regina's my favorite character of all time. I just love her art. I just want to know, how do you all feel about like her progression throughout the series?
I mean, first of all, we all need to say that Lana just does such an incredible job of playing Regina and the Evil Queen as a character. It's just so amazing and incredible. Her performance is always completely mesmerizing, and it's so incredible to see how her character progresses over the course of the show. Love and loss and family and friends, and her transition from good to bad to good to bad to good to bad, and you're just like, oh, what is happening now? And it's so amazing and incredible, and there's so much life in her performance. It's incredible, and I was always so happy with I was always so mesmerized by Lana's performance. It was incredible.
Everything that you said. Lana is so incredibly inspiring and an extremely hard-working actor. Probably one of the most hard-working actors I've ever met. And everything, she just embodies both those characters. And it's a testament to Lana for playing a character that's so flawed when she goes through her different moments of going from good to evil, and yet created a fandom that could love someone who was so split in personality, but really just love this character so much. And that is not easy to do.
And I mean, a testament to Lana's abilities as an actor, just the fact that in season 6 she was playing not only Regina but also the Evil Queen simultaneously, sometimes in scenes with herself, and you're just like, what is happening? And
her call times,
call times were early, hair and makeup, and one day she'd film Regina's half the scene, the next day she'd film the Evil Queen's half the scene, and then in post we'd paste them together, and you got the scene that you watched on.
I don't think she slept in season 6.
Incredible.
Really. And yes, she looked amazing, as Lana does always. But no, she's so inspiring to work with, and she has the biggest heart.
Yeah, she's always been a second mom to me, and it's absolutely incredible, and she's such a wonderful human being. I can't wait for her to be here this week.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Love the show. Love both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Love the show. Love the ending. I wanted to know, every show has pranksters. Did any of y'all have pranks that were memorable?
Well,
I can think of a few right now.
yeah. It was Colin's goal in life to make us all laugh. Whenever he was not on camera, he'd try to make the person on camera laugh. He'd sit behind the camera and just make the most obscene, ridiculous, and hilarious faces while we were just sitting there.
And I'm the worst corpse, so it doesn't take much. Like, I just, he's so naughty that way.
And he'd do impressions, and he'd just sit there, and he'd get really close, like really, really close up to your ear, and just start doing like a Liam Neeson impression. And you couldn't help but laugh, because it's Colin just sitting there in your ear doing a Liam Neeson impression, and you're just like, well, what am I supposed to do?
You know what he did? So, because being a newbie and coming into a new show, especially an established show, can be really nerve-wracking because you want everyone to like you and you want to fit in. But as Jared said earlier, you could not have hoped for a more warm, welcoming family to enter in. And so Colin, early on, Colin would play these little practical jokes on the side, and it would be moments before, like, action, when they say action and we have a cue to come in at a certain time. And it was obviously season 6, and it was, I forget which episode. It was the scene where we're all at Regina's office, right?
Yeah.
And I think Evil Queen has David at a Stranglehold. And Aladdin's in there already, and Colin and I come in. And it was so funny, we're waiting for our cue, and every time Colin said, here, take this. I'm like, what? He'd put something in my hand. I'm like, Colin, I have to run in. And so I'd have to hold whatever he put in my hand throughout that whole scene. And then after, when it says cut, I'd open it, and the first one was his autograph. And I'm like, I was like, why are you giving me this piece of paper with your signature? He goes, it's my autograph. He goes, I thought you might like to treasure it. I'm like, that's what I was holding on to this whole scene? Okay. So next take. Put something else in my hand. I'm like, Colin, no, I can't be holding. He goes, continuity. You got to do it anyway, so just hold on to it. So I open it, and it's one of those mini whoopee cushions. Thank God I didn't push onto it, so for fart noises. So thank God. And I was like, what? He said, wouldn't it be funny if Jasmine farted? And I'm like, okay. So next take. Put something else. I'm like, Colin? He goes, just wait. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to hold on to it. So I go in, and I open it. I'm like, what is it now? Is it an autograph, whoopee cushion? What is it? I open it, and it was a flower. Aww. And I looked at him, and of course, you guys now know it doesn't take much for me to go, so sweet. And I said, oh, Colin. I said, it's a flower. He said, yep. He goes, because, you know, you're cool. And he goes, I'm happy you're here. And I just thought, oh, well then, but he's tricky. Because he puts the flower last so that you forgive him for playing those parts. And you think all is good. Nah. Comes back later on, always making you laugh. We had a smolder. Did he ever do his smolder competition?
Of course, yeah, of course.
When the camera's on you and he's not on him, he's always doing his, you know, sexy smolder. And I'm like, stop it. And him and Josh paired together.
The bromance.
That's it. It's dangerous because both of them just want to make you laugh.
And they just riff off of each other. They do one of them would say something, the other one would say something, and then they'd just be there for like 3 hours, just making everybody laugh.
Yeah.
I remember we were trying to film this one scene, but they were making everybody laugh so hard we just couldn't film the scene. Ginny could not stop laughing. And of course, when Ginny started laughing, everybody else started laughing. So we were all sitting there trying to stop laughing, but Colin and Josh just would not stop.
You know. But you know what worked with Colin? Finally, on Twitter, you know, because he's got many ardent fans, and some of the hashtags, I have to say, is quite funny. So I quite like fancy pants, and fancy pants, and that would make him turn beet red. But then I saw one that was like, you know, really, really daring, and it said, hashtag panty dropper. So during the take, I just called him panty dropper. And his face went beat. Like, you have to understand, Colin really likes to tease people, but at the same time, if you tease him, he can turn so beet red, and he wasn't expecting it. And I just blasted it out in the scene, and he was like, wait, what? And he just turned so red. I thought, yes, I got him back.
Every time I see Colin, he asks me the same thing without fail. Hey Jared, what's the news? Hey Jared, what's the news? Hey Jared, what's the news?
Those two, I think, would be the kings of the pranksters, right?
Yeah, those two are definitely up there.
Yeah. You were pretty good.
I mean, I didn't really pull pranks. I kind of was just super sweet and then made everybody laugh because I was like, hi! I was innocent. Oh, those were the days.
I know.
Karen, I would be remiss not to ask you about Gallivant. What was that experience like? Because it was unlike anything on television. I think when it first came out, people compared it. It's like if Monty Python and Princess Bride had a musical child.
Mm-hmm. It would be Gallivant. Are there any Gallivant fans? Have you guys watched Gallivant? It was one of the most thrilling experiences of my life. Like, every time I talk about it or someone asks me about it, I just light up like a light bulb. Dan Fogelman really changed all of our lives. And I was saying to you backstage that if I had to have an angel that opened doors for me on American TV, I'm so happy it was Dan, because he, not only is he super crazy talented, he's so funny and incredibly grounded, and such a lovely human being. And when I first read the script, I was, you know, when you're like a kid reading a great book, and it's magical and everything's happening, and if you could just see my eyes just above the page, you'd be like, and I'm like, is this really happening? If anyone told me that there would be such a show like this, I never would have believed it. But then I read what he put beside, I love you.
It's so magical.
When I saw beside Isabella, when she comes in the script, in the pilot, he said, oh, Jennifer Lawrence, totally, we can get Jennifer Lawrence to play this role. I called my agent, I said, did you read the script? He said, yeah, isn't it great? And I said, yeah, but he wants Jennifer Lawrence. He said, yeah. I said, well, last time I checked in the mirror, I looked nothing like Jennifer Lawrence. To which my agent said very nicely, Karen, shut up and just go to the meeting. And so I said, okay. I met a very handsome young man who was going up for the role of Gallivant. It wasn't Josh. It was there was a lot of very handsome gentlemen going up for the role. And as soon as I walked in, he said to me, he said, you're going up for Isabella, aren't you? And I was like, really? You really think I could be in Isabella? He said, well, yeah. I said, but he wants Jennifer Lawrence. That's all I had in my head, guys. Jennifer Lawrence, he wants Jennifer Lawrence. And I wish I knew who this actor's name was. He was so sweet, and he said, don't you ever say that you can't be that person. He said, you never know. He said, you could walk in that room right now, and you could be the Isabella. And Dan said that when I went in and I met them, he instantly knew that I was his Jennifer Lawrence. I was his brown Jennifer Lawrence. And when I think because I just had it in my mind that he wanted Jennifer Lawrence, I didn't feel any pressure. So I just was more open and just kind of being silly and cheeky, and that's what Dan wanted. And I'm so glad because I got to work with amazing actors like Timothy Amundsen, and you know,
God,
he's
he's
so
amazing.
wonderful. I remember
love
when
that show
Jared
so
first
much.
watched it. We were filming because
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time was our sister show, and so all of us on Gallivant were like in awe of Once Upon a Time. So when I came on set, and everyone said, "Oh my God, I'm a huge Gallivant fan," and then Jared hadn't watched it yet.
I watched it the first time. I think I started watching it the day I met you, and then after that I watched it in like 2 days, and then I watched it again because of how much I loved it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Monty Python and that sort of, and The Princess Brad's one of my favorite movies, and I recently rewatched it with my girlfriend, and we absolutely love it. It's still one of my favorite shows, just ever. Period. I love it so much.
They want
I'm
to
a dork.
do. They want to do a movie. They'd love to do a movie. And
For Disney Plus?
well, that would be great, you know. So we're talking, and Tim is doing really, really well, and he's back at work, and so let's see. I keep telling everyone that if you're on Netflix and you're watching Gallivant, leave a review, keep leaving reviews, because what happens is that the producers all gather. They're always gathering that information so that they can just, I don't know if you saw the petition, there's an online petition if you Google more Gallivant, and there's like coming up to 40,000 signatures. When we printed them out, I kid you not, it's like a tower. And literally, they're just going to take that in and with their pitches. So I mean, it's not impossible, but it's something that we all want. Everyone's very much like a family, and I don't know, to sing songs and dance with horses, and you know, just that whole genre of taking the mick out of the fairy tale genre is just really, really, really funny. I'm so grateful for it. you could be in Gallivant.
Oh, why thank you. I'm just gonna whisper everything now.
There's actually a connection. Dan Fogelman, who created Gallivant, also created This Is Us, and Jennifer Morrison is joining the cast this fall. So,
Yeah.
cool stuff is happening.
It's all serendipitous.
Jared, were there any fairy tale characters that you wished had gotten on Once Upon a Time that never made it?
I mean, it's so hard because we pretty much covered. Now I can think of it. We covered pretty much almost every fairy tale I can think of, and I know there's some more traditional folklore and characters that are more traditional from probably other parts of the world, from more small, or not small, but stories that are not so mainstream, I guess you could say, that we haven't covered. But it's so incredible that we did get to cover so many incredible stories. For me, it's more, I wish we could have seen more of some characters. I'm a huge fan. I know I think we had Rapunzel on the show, but I'm a huge fan of Tangled. So I would have loved to see Flynn Rider and Rapunzel, Mother Gothel and everything.
And again, his dad,
and Dan
wrote
wrote the music for Tangled, which is
there's a lot of connections between Tangled, if you've watched Tangled, and Gallivant.
Yeah.
You know, that are very similar with that, especially with Isabella and Gallivant in the beginning. I don't want to give any spoilers if you haven't watched it, but let's just say they butt heads in the beginning. So it's just very funny. I kind of wish that I loved Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I love Esmeralda, and I love Pocahontas too. That would have been fun. So, but there's only so much you can do in 7 seasons, but they did a lot.
We did a lot.
The relationship between Henry and his moms and his grandparents, that was such an interesting combination.
Dynamic.
And Emma and Regina's, could you call it frenemy-ship? I mean, it takes a while for them to figure out, we actually need to figure out like a co-parenting scheme.
It's so cool to be in the middle of that dynamic and get to spend so much time with all the separate cast members and interact with them together when we're all together, when we're all apart. It was so cool I remember one of my favorite kind of, I guess, arcs was in the 2nd season where Emma and Regina or Emma and Snow, Emma and Ginny, or Jen and Ginny were in Fairy Tale Land, and I was in the real world still, and I was hanging out with Prince Charming, with my grandpa, with Josh, and it was so cool to be able to explore that dynamic too, because Henry's family is so like massive, and it's so cool to be able to like explore every different bit of it, and I always loved the scenes where I could be with any of my family members, for that matter. I think I always loved scenes where I was working with Bobby, with Robert, because he was my other grandpa on the set, which is so cool and amazing and wonderful. And now everybody's saying with my longer hair that I look like him, which is funny. So that's something. And it's just it's always so wonderful to explore that dynamic. This is going to be a really, really weird comparison. It's like Emma and Regina were always like Ash Ketchum and Gary Oak. They were like frenemies, but they weren't like enemies. They were kind of just like, I'm the better Pokemon master. Pikachu, go! That sort of thing the whole time. So there we go.
I mean, talk about like a royalty of a family, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, my grandma's Snow White, my grandpa's Prince Charming. I mean, that's all Paul.
Yeah.
Right?
I think one of the things that really made Once stand out is you had so many strong female characters.
Oh yeah.
When traditionally Disney princesses did not have a lot of agency in the original source material, at least the original Disney movies.
It's so, for me, growing up on set, it was so amazing and wonderful to be able to work alongside so many strong and incredible women and actors and learn from them. And I have so much respect and gratitude, and it's just so incredible. They're so amazing, and the way they portrayed their characters is just amazing.
I think that's what's so wonderful about a show like Once Upon a Time, is that you see all these Disney characters that we've grown up with in our childhood, sort of reinvented, more acclimatized to today's times, that they're more accessible, to see them in everyday situations and how they cope with heartbreak, with loss, with failure. Something that it's that we can all relate to. I mean, it's one thing that they might be a princess or riding a magic carpet or something, for example, but at the same time, they're just as human as all of us. And I love that they humanized a lot of these wonderful characters and empowered a lot of the female characters too, because I think especially when you're portraying such important characters that have played, and to this day, whether we're big or small, little kids or big kids, such a fundamental part in how we perceive, these characters. They're very influential on young girls out there and young boys too. And I think it's so wonderful that the producers like Adam and Eddie, they have a responsibility of representing and making sure that these characters are seen in a light that is accessible for the times that we live in now. That's really important. And I think they achieved that successfully.
Last quick question. If you could be any other character on the show, male or female, who would you choose?
Captain Hook. I want to be a pirate. I really want to be a pirate. Hardy har har.
That was so quick. I was going to say, oh my God, I dare not, because everyone plays a character so well. And he just went pirate. So now
I've answered this question a few times. I really want to be a pirate, guys.
Oh gosh. I think after doing a stint on Criminal Minds and playing complete psychopath, I really had so much fun playing a baddie, because it's unexpected, and so I think, no, because Lana's so amazing, so maybe her apprentice, just like an evil mini queen or something.
I just want to keep playing evil Henry. I just want to be evil.
Yeah, you did that so frighteningly well. I was like, where is my wonderful Jared? Like, bring him back. But it was, you played evil Henry so well.
Everyone was calling me Joffrey on set.
Now it's gonna stick, I'm gonna go, no.
Yeah.
Why?
Sadly, we are out of time. Please join me in thanking our guests, Karen David and Jared Gilmore.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So lovely. Thank you for coming.